right, everybody. Welcome back to the Sports Fellas Gambling Podcast. This is episode 7, and we are back at it with the NFL. What we will be doing in this episode is breaking down what happened in Week 6 and projecting it ahead to Week 7. We're going to guess the Week 7 lines. We're going to give, our leans and where we're feeling on, how these lines open and what we think they might trend to as the week goes on, which will lead us into our Friday winners picks. But yeah, pretty much just a Week 6 recap. What do you think, Dave? You ready for another interesting week of guessing lines?
Right, yeah, let's get into it, brother. I'm excited to guess me some lines.
Awesome, sounds good. So let's get it started with the Thursday night football game. And what that is the Chicago Bears heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers. The Bears are one of the least inspired teams of the weekend. Like I said with the Packers, but the Bears blew a 10-point lead early. They ended up blowing a 10-point lead to the Jaguars in disgusting fashion. Their defense was giving up penalties. The offense kind of tucked in its shell and quit about halfway through the third quarter of that game. Really one of the most sloppy games of the weekend. On the other side, though, the Packers were as bad as you've possibly seen them. I do think the Cowboys' defense is better than some people think, but Aaron Rodgers making bad reads, making missed throws, that's going to be all over the headlines all week. Mike McCarthy and him, there's something wrong with those two. They're not seeing eye to eye. They have no run game. Eddie Lacy's hurt. James Starks is hurt. They're relying on Ty Montgomery out of the backfield a lot. It's not a great situation for them to be in. But at the end of the day, they're definitely going to be favored over the Bears. It's definitely, it's Aaron Rodgers on a short week. John Fox, you could argue, is the better coach than Mike McCarthy, which I've mentioned, if you take the better coach on Thursday Night Football, you're typically in a good situation. But at the end of the day, the Packers are going to be at least 7-point favorites, I'd say. They're not going to be underdogs on the road, if that's how you would do the math. So I'm going to go with 7.5, the Packers by 7.5 for Thursday Night Football.
Right, yeah. I'm probably in that area. I'm probably going to say Packers, a little over a touchdown, probably Packers -8. Bears blew that game. They looked very uninspired. They let Jaguars come back from, you said, a 10-point win, I believe. It was an ugly fashion loss. Jaguars did end up covering, though, so I was happy about that. But, yeah, Bears they were in it, and they just blew that game. And then Green Bay, there has to be issues going on with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Not only that, Aaron Rodgers he doesn't look on page with anyone, especially his top receiver, Jordy Nelson. Yeah, and then guys, they dropped a few passes on him, but he also threw behind them. So Aaron Rodgers just does not look like the Aaron Rodgers that we all know. But yeah, they're going to be favorites, no doubt about it. So I'm going to say 8-point favorites in this game.
Yeah, this thing opened 9, and it's just sticking at 9. I mean, for me, as much as, you want to dispel, like I said, the media's going to slam Rodgers. They're going to, probably provoke an inspired performance, but I'm not backing the Packers laying 9 on a short week. That seems like a lot to me.
Right, yeah, just with the way they've been playing. Just, if they were playing good, then, yeah, I'd be all over them. But they haven't been playing good, and then on the short week, it just adds to that. So, yeah, I'm probably a game I'll avoid, though.
Yeah, I'm giving a slight lead to the Bears. I may look into the Bears on that one. Hoyer still hasn't been bad.
True.
He's far too conservative to be a good quarterback, but I'm still on that. He's better than Brock Osweiler at this point, so I'm still just riding that train. And
yeah, right.
As far as it'll take, who's another guy the Bears? We keep mentioning Zach Miller, Jordan Howard, Cameron Meredith, just another guy kind of coming out of nowhere. Seems to be a big body who can catch the ball and make little moves after the play. So, I don't hate the Bears.
Yeah, they're definitely carving out a role for him. I picked him up on my fantasy team off waiver wire 2 weeks ago, actually. So,
there you go.
Yeah, he's a contributor, big body. So, and him and Hoyer have been on the same page. So, he gets the targets.
Yeah, I've liked the little I've seen out of Meredith. So let's move on to the Sunday slate. We got a London game this week. We've got the New York Giants heading to London to take on the Rams. Of course, the Rams get to open their season in Los Angeles, and they lose a home game going to London. The Rams yesterday, Robert Quinn's out, a lot of Tremaine Johnson's out, and the Lions ended up being able to move the ball all over them. They put 31 points on what was supposed to be a really good defense at home.
Right.
Now you go, at least Detroit's closer to London, I'm pretty sure, than Los Angeles. So at least you get a little bit closer where you're
Yeah.
going. The Giants ended up, it wasn't a great performance. Odell Beckham fumbled earlier to set up, a Terrence West touchdown run. Terrence West kind of ran all over them, but Joe Flacco was abominable and kind of gave that game away. Odell Beckham ended up taking off, on 2 huge plays in the fourth quarter. I think he ended up with like 200 receiving yards in the second half.
222. Oh, yeah, in the second half. Right.
Yeah, I think he was close to 200 yards in the second half alone, which
Yeah,
is
that's
just
crazy
to me.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So when I look at these two rosters, I'm still not sure about Robert Quinn. I know that Tremaine Johnson is out. Tremaine Johnson would have been the guy to guard Odell Beckham, who, now Odell Beckham's going to be on the loose. So I'm definitely going to say the Giants are favored. The question is, do you go the full field goal? I'm going to say 2.5, just because I don't know where Robert Quinn's at.
Yeah, I'm probably around there with you as well. They're definitely going to be favored in this game. They're going to look at it, and it's going to be Eli versus Case Keenum. Robert Quinn out, that's huge for them. And Giants, may have gotten their passing game together finally, but it was against a weak Baltimore secondary that we had no trust in to start the season. And then Rams, yeah, they were just gutted by Detroit offense. I know people think Detroit's offense is, a top tier type of offense, but they're really not. They're really inconsistent, so it's hard to trust them. But you know what? They got the better of the Rams. Their defense, is supposed to be good. They're giving up points though, like no other, and it has to do with injuries. And then this game being in London, kind of a neutral field. I guess Rams might be closer, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go with Giants as 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, it opened 3. It's plus 105 to take the -3, so it's really close to 2.5. But it is Giants -3. I mean, like you said with the Lions offense, is it so dynamic? Their running backs yesterday were Justin Forsett off of waivers and Zach Zenner. So I mean, it's not that great of an offense to put up 31 points on them. So I'm leaning Giants or pass, but with the London and everything, this just seems like a stupid game to get invested in.
Right, yeah. I mean, I'm leaning Giants as well. I'm going with the better quarterback. And their defense could be better than the Rams right now as well. So leaning Giants, but I need to think about that one some.
Yeah, so under the Sunday 1 o'clock games, you've got the Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. Vikings come off of a bye week, hopefully a week to get, all those banged up bodies. Maybe somebody could get a little rested and get back into lineups. Stephon Diggs, Sharif Floyd, a few names on the offensive line. It's for the Eagles. Last week they headed to Philadelphia. Back-to-back road game, or they headed to Washington. Back-to-back road games. Both of them they were favored in. We're starting to learn that the Eagles cannot be trusted as a road favorite. The run defense looked bad. Kirk Cousins threw a pick-6, but besides that, it was pretty clean. The defense did not show up the way that I thought they would. It wasn't impressive at all by any standards. So the Vikings on the road, I think they're favored in this one. Just they're 5-0, and the Eagles are coming off of 2 losses. I guess they're obviously favored, but I'm going to give them the full 3. I'm saying Vikings -3 in this one.
Vikings -3 on the road. Okay. Yeah, Eagles on the road, it was bound to happen to a rookie quarterback. They just got the better of them. Scoring-wise, they weren't really able to do much. They got production. They got a touchdown from Wendell Smallwood, returned a kick for them, and then they also had the pick-6. But other than that, not much offensive production. Now they have to go home and play the best defense in the league while Minnesota's coming off of a bye. That's a tough game for Philadelphia. That's gonna be a good game in the trenches though, because Eagles defense is no joke either. Their front seven's it's up there. Not as good as the Vikings, but it's definitely up there with them. So I think that would be a good battle. As far as the spread goes, probably going to say, what'd you say, Minnesota -3?
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to give the because it seems like people are always on the Eagles. So I'm not going to give them the full field goal. I'm going to say Vikings 2.5-point favorites, just because I feel like a lot of people will be on the Eagles as well for this game.
Yeah, it is 2.5, and the spot to me does say Eagles. Like I said, coming off of 2 losses, bouncing back at home. Like you said, the defensive front of the Eagles is really strong. The Minnesota offensive line is weak. I see Fletcher Cox having a big game. My number 1 rule this season is you're either taking the Vikings or you're passing the game, so I'll probably end up passing this, but I do like the spot for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Definitely.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. You've got the New Orleans Saints. They got some home cooking off of a bye, and they finally got a much-needed win against the Carolina Panthers. You got Michael Thomas involved. You got Kobe Fleener involved. Those were 2 names that, you saw a lot of cooks in Snead early on, but those 2 are finally coming along. So the offense looks really good. The defense is just the same old story. They got the bye. It didn't get them much healthier. They still, they blew a huge lead. They took it to the wires. Really, I mean, this was a game that could have been 41-10 if they had any type of defense whatsoever, but instead they're down to a last-second field goal. The Chiefs, 16-2 off of the bye as Andy Reid now, as he beat the Oakland Raiders. That was a sloppy game. What was interesting to me was that you saw Spencer Ware still getting the majority of the carries over Jamal Charles, even after a bye week, even after 2 weeks now since Jamal has returned. Just something to watch there. I don't think it's completely legitimate. Also, something to watch is Justin Houston coming back soon? I tend to think so. I don't think it'll be this week, but just something to keep your eye on. At the end of the day, the Chiefs are at home. They proved that they're still a pretty good team. The Saints have an awful defense. The Chiefs are going to be favored by more than 3. I definitely don't think it'll be 7, though, so I went with 4.5 right now. Where'd you go?
I'm probably in the range of like Vegas. Well, Vegas, around the 4 to the 6-point range. They're a little uncertain. So I'm gonna go Kansas City 5.5. It was a sloppy game, but they looked good against the number 1 rated offense in the league in Oakland. So they did a good job to go into their home and get the win out of that one. And then Saints, their offense is great, but their defense, there's no hope for their defense right now. They need a complete overhaul of that defense. They need to start from scratch, work the draft and whatnot, get guys, young guys in there. And then, you know what? Carolina went 3 for 11 on 3rd downs, and they still managed to put up 38 points against this team.
Jeez, yeah.
So, I mean, it's just not going to cut it. There's just too many holes. So, if I had to lean a team, I'm definitely leaning Kansas City again. You and I both know it's hard to play in Arrow Stadium. It's a really good home field advantage, and they should be able. Alex Smith, he's throwing the ball decently right now, and they got 2 solid running backs in Charles and Ware. So I think they'll unleash them this week against that weak Saints offense.
Yeah, and Vegas is actually a little bit ahead of us. They got it all the way up to 6.5 for the Chiefs. So, I mean, I completely understand it. Like you just said, I mean, if the Panthers are going to go 3 for 11 on 3rd down and put up 38 points, the Chiefs are a team that, they live for 3rd down. Their whole strategy is, let's get 8 yards on 1st and 2nd down so we have a 3rd and 2 and we can convert it.
Right.
If they're going to, convert consistently on 3rd down, they're going to put up a ton of points. The Chiefs are, typically a defense and low-scoring team. This over-under is at 50 right now, so expect the points, expect the Chiefs' offense to find some life in this one, as everyone does when they play the Saints. I don't have a lean for it. Like I said, I kind of thought it'd be a little lower. Maybe at that point you look for the Chiefs, but I'm not sure yet. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I said I'm going to roll with the Chiefs here. I like them at home, and I think their secondary matches up with that high-octane offense that New Orleans has. So I think it's a good matchup for them. So I think I'll be leaning towards Kansas City.
Yeah, and you get Drew Brees on grass, which is an underrated factor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. On to the next one, we've got the Washington Redskins at the Detroit Lions. Washington, like we said, took care of business in the division at home. That was a huge win for them to, they're right in the thick of things here in the NFC East. That NFC East is mighty interesting. Everybody's 3-3 or better. They had the Detroit, who, like we said, put up a ton of points on, who was it?
The Rams.
But at the end of the day, I mean, like we said, they have no running game right now. Ziggy Ansah was out for them. They gave up 28 points to Case Keenum in the Rams, so their defense isn't doing any good. But still, Washington's not going to be favored on the road. I still don't trust Kirk Cousins at all in that situation. Heck, the Eagles were favored in Washington. So the way I see it is Eagles are -3 in Detroit. Eagles are -2.5 in Washington. So the Lions should be slightly better. So I just went with Detroit -3, just the typical home field type of situation. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Okay. I'm in the range. I'm a little bit under field goal. I'll probably say Lions 2.5 points. I feel like the Redskins are about due for a loss here at some point. After reeling off 4 straight, everyone's like, when are they due? When's their next one? I mean, I thought it was the last one, but they handled their business against Philly. Offense, I'm still not buying Kirk Cousins. He does an all right job. And then on the road, though, Detroit's secondary, it's bad, but I think they can match up kind of well with the Redskins' skill players. So I think it'll be a close game. But I'm going to have to say Detroit 2.5 point favorites for this one.
Yeah, this thing's only Detroit -1 right now. And if you're a guy that just bets solely off of line value, you have to be looking to Detroit because, like I said, the Eagles are -3 against both of these teams. So, what kind of home field advantage is that saying that Detroit has, saying they have none? So I'm also, not just a numbers situation. I'm leaning to Detroit because, like you said, Washington has won 4 straight games, maybe feeling a little high and mighty. I would love to see Ziggy Ansah back. I would definitely love to see some type of stability out of the rushing game. If Theo Riddick's back, he's been underrated this year. He's been really good, especially in the passing game. So if those are the 2 names to watch. If either of them can play, I'm probably looking Detroit pretty hard in this one.
Right, yeah, and I feel like the Redskins have won so many close games in their past. Last game really wasn't close, but when they started their win streak, the first 3 games, I feel like they were just getting by. So every week, I kind of wanted just to fade them, but after this week, after doing well, maybe now this is the week to fade them after they're feeling high and mighty, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to look hard into Detroit this week. Like I said, I just hope that they're healthy.
Right.
Moving on to the next one, you got AFC North showdown. The Cleveland Browns are heading to Cincinnati. I mean, what are you going to say about them? It's time to say officially, we're 6 weeks into this season. This isn't 2015, thoughts anymore. Their offensive line is bad. It's just not very good. They're getting after Andy Dalton with a lot of pressure. Dalton can't handle the pressure. Jeremy Hill's not getting going in the running game. It's affecting the entire team. You saw, or I saw at least, when they played the Patriots, the defense is starting to get really frustrated. Rob Gronkowski got in the defense's head big time. He ticked off Burfict. He ticked off Pac-Man Jones. He ticked off Kirkpatrick. Things aren't great for the Cincinnati Bengals right now. Meanwhile, every time I watch the Browns, I end up feeling like warm-hearted for some reason. They have 0 wins, but I just love every player on their team. Cody Kessler plays above my expectations every week. Terrell Pryor is making his way to becoming a top 10 receiver somehow. Hugh Jackson has been fighting hard every week. They never win. But, at the end of the day, Tennessee was a 7-point favorite against Cleveland at home. So no matter what, this has to be more than 7 to me. I'm not going all the way to 10. I'm saying maybe Tennessee's a little better than we thought, so it's going to be 9. I went with Bengals by 9 in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be over a touchdown. I'm probably going to have to say maybe 8.5. No, I'll probably go 9. No, I'll go 8.5. But the line could have moved up just because it's Cleveland. But yeah, this Bengals team just seems like a team that's starting to implode. This is probably going to be Marvin Lewis's last year in Cincinnati. That line our offensive line is struggling right now. They're supposed to be good. So that's gonna make way for Browns to make this a defensive battle. I feel like is Hayden playing? Joe Hayden?
I don't think, but I mean, at this point, does it matter? When's the last time he had a good performance?
Yeah, true. I guess I haven't been watching much of him this year. I just felt like he was their best cornerback they had.
He is their best cornerback. It's just it's so sad how bad their secondary is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's crazy. Just how Hugh Jackson gets his team motivated to play every single time, though. So that's a nice edge to have in a game like this. So, like I said, Cincinnati minus 8.5, but definitely leaning towards Browns again. Browns are bad, but Cincinnati is supposed to be a good team, but they are playing really bad, so that hurts their egos probably. They're probably really frustrated right now. So I can see them quietly imploding. So I'm going to go with the Browns in a division matchup here.
Yeah, and it's even better than we thought. It opened 10, and it's only down to 9.5. So you're assuming that the Sharks took a bite out of that 10, and we'll probably never see 10 again. But really, anything over a touchdown, I'm looking to the Browns. We mentioned Hugh Jackson. He gets his former team in the Bengals in this one.
Right.
He always brings a fight. The Browns are that bad team that you don't mind backing because they always fight hard. So I'm looking Browns are passing this one for sure.
Right. Agreed.
So here's an interesting one: is the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. The Bills all of a sudden are like the hottest team in the league. They've won 4 straight. They just put the Niners to sleep, especially in the fourth quarter. I think they scored like 28 on Anthony. Mention it every week, but LaShawn McCoy's the top 5 running back. That offensive line's really good. It's clearing holes for him, and he's taking extreme advantage of that. The Miami Dolphins on the other side, they finally righted the ship. They, kicked a bunch of linemen off the team. Things were looking bad all of a sudden. You get the Steelers, a team that, we called the look-ahead spot. We called, the Steelers aren't going to bring it. They didn't bring it at all. Sadly, Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. From that point forward, the Steelers' offense was anemic. So the Dolphins win. They beat an impressive team, but they did it in an unimpressive fashion. So nobody's going to give love to the Dolphins in this one. I'm gonna, the Bills are obviously going to be favored. I just don't think it should be the full 3. I'm still, the Bills, they're beating teams like the Rams. They're beating Jacoby Brissett. They're beating Colin Kaepernick. I'm not there on them yet, so I went with Bills minus 2.
Bills minus 2, yeah. They are one of the hottest teams around. Shady McCoy is one of my favorite running backs to watch. He's versatile. He's shifty. He's a complete package for that team. He helps them out immensely. If he's not on there, they're not moving the ball. And then I got to give props to Richie Incognito because he's doing a good job on that offensive line. He's found a home with Buffalo, so good for that guy. Then also, Tyrod Taylor. He doesn't have to pass the ball as much. But he does a lot with his legs for this team, so he makes a lot of plays for them. So I'm liking what I've seen from him so far. And then on to the Dolphins. We expected that Steelers always go on the road, play to the competition the level of competition. They played down to it, and we kind of expected that from them. My main takeaway from that game was Dolphins are still bad. But you know what? They found themselves a workhorse running back in J.J. So good for him. He put up 200 and some yards, so it was a good performance from him. But at the end of the day, this Bills team's still better than this Dolphins team. Tannehill's still under center, so I don't think Miami's going to be favored in this game at all. So if I had to guess a spread, I'd probably have to say Buffalo. With the winning streak and all, maybe the full field goal favorite. But I'm going to have to say Buffalo 2.5 point favorites.
Yeah, it opened 3, but it opened 3 minus 104, and it's down to 3 even. So, I mean, it's ticking real close to 2.5. And to me, it's hard to back Miami, like we said, coming off of a win that wasn't impressive. But I'm looking Miami or pass. I still feel like Rex Ryan gets this team too cocky at sometimes. Marcel Darius is the name to watch because if he's out again, I do think that Jay Ajayi could get another good game of running the ball. Probably going to be a pass for me, but I'm leaning towards the Dolphins a little bit.
Yeah, I really have no play here. If anything, I'd be leaning towards the Bills, but this might be just a game I pass. Just because Dolphins are hard to back.
So on to the next one is the Raiders at the Jaguars, and the Raiders have had an extremely tough schedule. We were all over the Chiefs last week, and that was one of the reasons is that they've been back and forth East Coast to West Coast division games here and there. It's been wild for them. Now they're back on the East Coast in Jacksonville for this one. The Jaguars, like we said, an uninspired performance. Blake Bortles is just so bad still. TJ Yeldon, I really wanted to see a little more out of him this week. Didn't really get it against a bad Bears defense, so it's tough to put any faith in the Jaguars. But like we said, the Raiders schedule, their situations, it's setting up to where they're not going to be favored at home on this one. At least I didn't think so. I went with a pick 'em because I have no idea where either of these two teams are mentally or physically, to be honest. So I went with a pick 'em and let the market decide where it goes. Where do you think?
Yeah, I'm around there. Oakland's not going to be favored in this game. I feel like all their games so far this year have been 3 points or fewer. Probably because of the teams they played, but I just feel like the spread's always close. And another thing that has to deal with that is probably the Raiders' defense, one of the worst in the league. So, I mean, I guess any team can stay in any game against Oakland with that defense. It's just a question of can they stop that offense. Jaguars coming off that tough loss, or I mean, I guess they got the win. Actually, they came back and won from Chicago. I'm thinking Chicago.
Still tough, though.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough game to watch. It was just uninspiring. It really was. But Jacksonville at home, it's better on the road. I still can't stand watching Blake Bortles play. He's tough to watch. So I definitely don't think they're going to get the full field goal for this game. I might say pick 'em, but I'm going to go Jacksonville 1 point favorites here.
Yeah, it opened 1, and it's now up to 1.5, and I don't have a feel. I mean, the thing is, Sean Smith is a pretty bad corner this year. He's proven that, but he's better against bigger receivers than smaller receivers, so maybe he'll have some type of success against Allen Robinson, especially when Allen Robinson has to make circus catches all game thanks to the poor mechanics of Bortles. I don't have a real feel for this one.
Right, yeah. I'm leaning towards Oakland, but it might just be a pass for me.
Yeah. On to the next one. We've got a division game. It is the AFC South in this one. We've got the Colts at the Titans, and here's my hot take of the week. The Titans are winning this division. I've watched the Jags enough to know that they're done. I've watched the Colts enough to, they just blew a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter. We know that the Texans with Brock Osweiler, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The Titans somehow, by default, are probably the better team in this division, as crazy as it sounds. And as crazy as it sounds, I still can't make them 3-point favorites at home against the Colts. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going with the Titans -2. I'm going with the Titans -2, and I mean, I guess I'm going to take the Titans in this one. But I mean, geez, oh man, what an awful division.
Yeah, the AFC South is just horrendous. I can't stand watching them play. Every game is just I don't know. It's so bleak. There's just nothing to like about it at all. Titans, yeah. They definitely have a chance to win this division. Their defense is the best defense in that division. Marcus Mariota is starting to get things going offensively as well, albeit that he played a couple weak opponents his last couple games. But, I mean, you do what you got to do against those bad teams. You got to score points, and that's what he did. So it was impressive. DeMarco Murray, that's their best player on offense, and he's definitely was a huge pickup for them, I believe. We haven't seen so much of Henry, but maybe they'll get him involved.
Not enough, I don't think.
Yeah, right, because that's just another guy who could help this offense out. And then Colts, they just blew that game last night. It was just an ugly game to watch. It was just, I hated watching it. So I actually fell asleep during the third quarter of that game because I was so. It was ugly. But Titans are definitely gonna be favored for this game. Andrew Luck just hasn't been impressive, really. I mean, he had a decent game last night, but still, I think he's struggling this year. I'm probably gonna have to say Titans, but 3.5 point favorites. But it could be lower than that, just because Titans aren't that great either.
Yeah, apparently you have more faith in the Titans than I do, and more than Vegas though. They opened 2; it's up to 2.5. One thing to notice is Brian Orakpo has 7 sacks this season. We just saw Whitney Merciless and Jadeveon Clowney pretty much single-handedly keep the Texans in the game against the Colts. Brian Orakpo and Derek Morgan, they're getting the job done, and it's tough to say that Luck won't be under pressure all game in this one. I'm definitely thinking Tennessee or pass in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Tennessee or pass for me as well.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. There's actually not a lineup for this one. I'm guessing it's the Ravens at the Jets. The only injury I can think of that would prevent a line from being up is Terrell Suggs tore his bicep. I'm guessing that might have to do with it. The Jets are coming off of a bye. The Ravens blew a big lead. It was a pretty big lead. It ended up being like 16-0, but they ended up blowing that lead. Joe Flacco was terrible. He's been really bad all year. I don't have it in front of me, but his yards per attempt has to be really low. He's throwing the ball a lot, and he's not really getting much out of all of his attempts. When he hooks up with Mike Wallace, it looks nice. But the last 2 games, Steve Smith has been hurt, and they haven't been able to stretch the field because of that. Oh, the reason the line's not up is because the Jets
play tonight. Yeah, I was gonna say that. I
said the Jets have a bye week.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I just haven't watched them play yet because they play tonight. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So I don't really have much for this. Do you even want to take a shot at a line before you see the Jets tonight?
I don't even know. I would say pick him if anything. Joe Flacco's looking terrible. His last game, I didn't see his stats for this week's game, but last game he threw a little over 40 attempts for only 200 yards. So I really don't know what's going on with that offense. So so let's just pass that one.
Yeah, here we go. Last week was 48 attempts for 307 against the Giants. So,
Holy cow.
It's like we're saying, he's throwing it a ton and he's not getting much out of it. He was 26 of 48 yesterday. 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, if you're a pass-first team, you're not barely getting 300 yards with 0 touchdowns. That tells you where your offense is.
Yeah, they're in a slump right now, so yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. We'll move on to the next one, and it is the Chargers coming off of a huge win. They finally held on to a fourth-quarter lead against the Denver Broncos on a short week. Gary Kubiak wasn't there. I mean, they needed everything to go in their favor to win by 8. They head to the road to the Atlanta Falcons, who it was a loss against the Seahawks, but, man, it was a really impressive one because Matt Ryan showed, I'm on the road back-to-back weeks. No, here's Matt Ryan's progression. You go from the Carolina Panthers, the NFC champions, on the road to the Denver Broncos, the Super Bowl champions, on the road to Seattle Seahawks. We all kind of claim that they're the best defense of the past 5 years, if you're looking at a collective unit of defensive players. And Matt Ryan still continues to amaze us. Julio Jones goes off. Devontae Freeman, wasn't an impressive stat game, but he looked good. This offense might be for real. The Falcons might be that team that, this year nobody saw it coming, but the offense makes the defense look a lot better. So, Falcons obviously favored in this one. The question is it a full touchdown? I said yes, just because – although San Diego gets the 10 days off or whatever, they're going on the road, they're going cross country. So I went with 7.5, mainly because I'm really buying into Atlanta.
Okay.
But I could see the Chargers covering it, but I went 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go a little bit lower than you. I'm gonna say 6.5 point favorites. I like the way Atlanta has been playing. Definitely offensive wise. That offensive line is probably one of the best offensive lines in the league behind Dallas. They really get the ball. They push. They get a nice push off the line. They open up lanes for their two running backs who wreak havoc all day. Also, I called Ben Roethlisberger to win MVP at the beginning of this year, but with his torn meniscus injury, he's going to be out for a while. So you know what? I think the leading candidate right now is Matt Ryan, and he's playing really well right now. He played some elite defenses. He should have won last night's game, but kept it close the whole time. So he's been playing really impressive. This whole Atlanta team's been playing impressive. I guess the offense makes the defense look better because their defense isn't that good. But my main concern is after playing those teams, is it like playing against Seattle and playing against Denver, does it take a toll on you physically? Because those teams are really aggressive and they're physical.
For sure.
So does it take a toll on that team coming back home with the Chargers, with the extra rest? And you know what? They always have Phillip Rivers to keep him in the games. So I'm saying the line 6.5, but I'm probably going to be leaning towards the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to why it even opened at 6. It's up to 6.5. It looks like, before we know it, it'll be up to 7. And I'm right with you where I'm looking at the Chargers hard in this one. It's tough to see Atlanta keep this thing going. But like you mentioned, the offensive line is legitimate. The addition of Alex Mack is completely huge. And you know what? One thing I was thinking about yesterday when I was watching that Seattle game is about this time last year, Cam Newton went to Seattle, and it was this, undefeated team that we had a bunch of questions on, and we said, well, they're going to go to Seattle and get it handed to them. Seattle kind of did it for 3 quarters. Cam Newton led a fourth quarter comeback. They ended up winning that game in overtime, I believe it was on a late second play. And, he kind of solidified his MVP status from that point forward. Almost the same exact scenario yesterday. Matt Ryan didn't cap it off with the win, but he threw a good pass to Julio Jones. It probably could have been pass interference on the 4th down. It was a great pass that Julio Jones dropped that led to the interception that set up the Seahawks game-winning field goal. So this Matt Ryan thing probably is legitimate, and but at the end of the day, I'm with you where I'm leaning to the Chargers or pass, just on a points type of situation.
Right, yeah, I agree. And the Chargers looked, Broncos' offense isn't that great, but their defense, they played inspired, so maybe that will carry over into this game.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like we said, 10 days off is also a helper.
Yeah.
The next one we got is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the San Francisco 49ers. The Bucs are coming off a bye where, I think they're going to get Doug Martin back. And if that's true, the San Francisco 49ers run defense has been bad. I mean, they're playing some good running backs, most of the time in between here and there. But, teams are running all over them. And I could see a lot of the same with Doug Martin. One thing I noticed in the Monday night win where the Bucs beat Carolina was that, even when it's Jaquiz Rodgers, they're a run-first team. It doesn't matter. And that makes a lot of sense to me because Jameis Winston is a guy, we saw it in Florida State where he comes out in those first quarters, he gets too antsy, he's overthrowing guys, he's throwing picks, he settles down in third and fourth quarters, and he looked great in the overtime drive where he led a field goal. But those first and second quarters, you don't want the ball in his hands. Dirk Cutter recognizes that. He's taking it away from him, so I really like that. I like the Buccaneers to be favored just because, the Niners aren't going to be favored over anyone the rest of the way throughout this season. So I went with the Bucs -3 because I'm going to give them the full 3 off of the bye with Doug Martin coming back.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, any young quarterback, any run game helps a young quarterback out. So getting Doug Martin back, it's huge for him. 49ers should not be favored in any game, like you said. Even with Colin Kaepernick, and everyone thinks it's going to change this team. It's not. This team is struggling right now, and they just don't have the talent to compete with other teams. But who knows? The Buccaneers aren't that great either, but they're definitely going to be favored in this game. You said a field goal?
Yep.
Probably going to go lower than that, maybe Buccaneers 2.5-point favorites, but this just might be a game that I might want to avoid just because Buccaneers have looked bad on the road as well. So
Yeah, traveling to the West Coast, that's pretty tough. And we have one of our buddies is a 49ers fan, and I texted him, Colin Kaepernick is 3 times better than Blaine Gabbert, and he's still a terrible quarterback.
Yeah.
So that just tells you where Blaine Gabbert and where Colin Kaepernick are. It's not making any situation better. The Bucs opened 2.5. It's down to 2. So people maybe a little bit on San Francisco, maybe a little bit unsure. 2 names to watch, I guess, for the Bucs would be Gerald McCoy and Noah Spence. I'm pretty sure both of them missed the Monday night game. Hopefully Akeem Ayers, or Robert Ayers too.
Robert
I forget
Ayers.
if it's Robert Ayers or Akeem Ayers.
Yeah.
It's Robert, yeah. So I think all 3 of them missed the Monday night game, so to get the bye week, hopefully, 1 or 2 of those guys can come back. If so, I'm leaning to the Bucs. But like you said, traveling to the West Coast, you're not laying the full 3, so Vegas doesn't respect you as much as I might. So I'm gonna have to do some digging on that one.
Right, yeah, and then just like the winner they do next factor. I mean, it could be San Fran's time to finally win that game. So that's just a game I might want to avoid. But I guess if I had to lean, really, it would be 49ers, I'd have to say. But that's a game I'm probably just not going to touch at all.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. On to the last 425 game, and this was supposed to be the game of the season, and all of a sudden it looks like a Patriots win. The Patriots are at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and things fell flat on their face when Ben Roethlisberger tore his meniscus. The other big thing, though, is that the Dolphins, an uninspired offensive line, a bunch of receivers who can't catch the ball, and the Steelers' defense looks so bad against them. Uninspired pass rush. Cameron Hayward's out, uninspired defense. Ryan Shazier's out, no second layer help. Mike Mitchell got banged up in that game. When you talk about Ryan Shazier, Cameron Hayward, and Mike Mitchell, you're talking about the 3 best defensive Steelers on the team. You could argue Stephon Tuitt's in that talk as well. But, if all of them are banged up or, 2 of them for sure are out of this game, it's going to be ugly. I ended up thinking that the Steelers would be about a pick-em or a 1-point favorite if Roethlisberger was there. I really do believe it's a full touchdown difference if Roethlisberger is out. So I ended up saying, from Steelers -1 to Steelers +6, just literally because of Ben Roethlisberger. So I went with 6 for the Patriots. Where are you going?
Well, Landry Jones, we've watched him before. We know how that guy plays, and we know he's not good at all. Steelers defense got hurt yesterday. They lost a lot of key players, and I saw Stephon Tuitt went down as well, but he ended up coming back into the game, so not really sure what his status is, but they're banged up right now. And it hurts to lose to a team like that too, pride-wise. So those guys are feeling it this week. And then losing Big Ben, that's another key blow to the team. And like you said, they'd probably be 1-point favorites, 1.5-point favorites if he was in. But the full touchdown without him. But I'm going to go a little bit over that because people are probably throwing on the Patriots once they heard that Big Ben tore his meniscus.
Sure.
So I'm going to probably say Patriots at 8-point favorites right now.
8, yeah, it's 7. It's -120 now if you want to take the 7, so it's leaning towards 7.5 before it'll be 6.5.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to try all week to make a case for the Steelers in this one. It's going to be really hard to do it, but my big thing is two real people that are sticking out to me in this one are Todd Haley and Le'Veon Bell. Todd Haley, this is a huge test for him. This is a guy. He's a weird guy. He's really cocky. He's really arrogant. He has a lot of faith in himself. He knows that taking on Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick, without Ben Roethlisberger, this is a huge test for him as a man, for him as a coordinator. I really think that he responds to these type of situations. I think he'll find some holes in the defense, and he's going to find ways to get Le'Veon Bell the ball, whether it be running, whether it be the Wildcat, whether it be, read draws with Antonio Brown at quarterback. I really would not expect anything less. I think they're going to throw him the ball a ton. He might get 15 targets in this game. They're going to do anything it takes to get the ball in his hands, and I'm just trying to people think I can't call for the Steelers to win with Landry Jones, but maybe a slight lean to the Steelers.
Okay, yeah, I'm there with you as well. What also could take effect is the Ewing theory, which is when one of your best players gets hurt, the whole team picks up their play for the next game. They play really inspired. They they go after the teams, you know. So that could be playing in their favor. And also, Steelers are awesome at home. That home crowd behind them really motivates them, and inspires them, and helps them out a lot. But at the end of the day, I just feel like they're too depleted on the defensive side right now. And the way Tom Brady has been blown by teams since he came back, man, he's just lights out. And you know who else he's getting involved is a guy named James White. And, you know, when he had his Shane Vereen's and his Falks, he really could move the ball on anyone, really. So as much as I'd like to, you know, take Steelers in the points, my lean probably going to have to be at the Patriots right now. But you know what? We got a whole week to think about that one. But right now, probably going to lean towards Patriots. But it's tough.
Yeah, I hear you. Like you said, that James White factor is pretty interesting because the two things that actually kill the Steelers the most are receiving running backs and tight ends, and
they got both.
Just so happen to have they just so happen to have the best of both worlds in those situations. So it is a tough sell, but at least we're not going to give the whole first take argument. Oh, Patriots, no Ben Roethlisberger, this game's over, mark it down. There's more than just, Ben Roethlisberger is out, this game's over. There's a lot to look into, but it is a tough sell.
Right, yeah.
Let's move on to the Sunday Night Football game. Like we mentioned with the Jets game, there's going to be no spread on this one. It's the Seahawks at the Cardinals. The Seahawks got to win maybe they shouldn't have at home, which, I think, like we said, that speaks a little more to the Falcons than it does to the Seahawks.
Right.
Another thing that I saw, Richard Sherman through 4 games, I saw it was something like he's given up 4 catches in his first 4 games, but in the last 2 games he gave up 9 catches for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Something to look for. Especially when, I think John Brown has a breakout game tonight against the Jets, so something to think about. I'm guessing the Cardinals will be about 3-point favorites at home on prime time, but I'm not sure about that. You have any guess?
Yeah, I really need to see how this team does. Carson Palmer should be back, I believe, right? He's cleared.
He's supposed to start. I mean, we got to see how he looks, though.
Yeah, that's really it. I got to see how they play, but if I had to guess, I mean, it's Cardinals maybe 2.5 favorites. I don't know if I'm going to give them the full field goal until I see how this offense plays.
Yeah, I hear you. On to the Monday Night Football game, the last one to wrap up the week. It is the Brock Osweiler Bowl. Brock Osweiler comes from his big game-winning drive where he threw, one decent pass. He heads on the road to take on his former team, the Denver Broncos, and my thing with this is Wade Phillips has 10 days to prepare for a quarterback that he watched at practice for, 2 years.
Right.
It's going to be tough to back the Texans in this one. The Broncos coming off a loss, coming off the 10 days rest, back home on prime time. I went with 7.5 on this one just because I'm not taking bets at 7. I think that, anything less than 7 is too easy, so I went with 7.5.
Wow, that's a lot of loving for Broncos.
I just can't trust Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't stand him either. He's tough to watch, but so I'm probably up there with you. I don't know if I'm gonna give him the full touchdown. Probably say Broncos coming off that loss, 10 extra days to prepare. And, Wade Phillips is awesome. I think he's one of the best D coordinators in the league. With 10 extra days to prepare for, like you said, Brock Osweiler, who was on the, practice squad, so he knows all about him. So Broncos are definitely going to be heavily favored in this one. Full touchdown, possibly, but I'm going to say Broncos 6.5-point favorites right now.
Yeah, it opened 6.5, and it's up to 7.
Okay.
I guess the Texans winning last night didn't do much to anybody. To think, let's take the Texans in this one.
Right.
That to me, the over/under is 42. That to me, I'm looking at tease the Broncos down and tease the under. Something that we were very fortunate to do last year. We got a lot of luck. We got a lot of. We won a lot of bets teasing the Broncos in the under last year.
Yeah, it was nice.
I think you go right back to that on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Texans are just, their offense with Brock Osweiler, they're not going to be able to do much. They're phonies in my eyes. Nope. Although I will give it to Clowney and Wiley, it was Wiley, right? Yeah,
Whitney Merciless.
Merciless. I'm thinking Wiley Merciless.
Yeah, Whitney.
Yeah, Whitney.
Yeah, right.
But those two should be able to wreak some havoc against that Broncos offensive line. So, got to think about that game a little bit more, but definitely leaning towards the Broncos.
Yeah, and that does it for the week. Just scrolling through real quick. I do really like that tease the Broncos in the under.
Yeah.
I'm going to look hard at Detroit this week. I'm going to be looking at the Browns getting a ton of points against the Bengals. Going to look at the Titans long and hard. And really the Chargers. Those are really the first couple that stick out to me, I think, this week. Where anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably with you there as well. I like the Titans. I'm leaning towards the Browns and the points. Let's see here. Who else we have? Chargers at Falcons. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning Chargers and the points. And then I like that Broncos tease. I mean, it's helped us in the past, so it's a good opportunity for them this week to pull it off again.
Yeah, I agree. And if you guys have any questions during the week, we will definitely be back to you on either Thursday or Friday to give you some winners. But any questions, fantasy-wise, betting-wise, just want to talk sports, check us out on Twitter at The Sports Fellas. If you want us to publish an article about an idea you have, we'll go in-depth. We'll give you what you need. Check that out, thesportsfellas.com. We're here to give the people what they want, and you guys want winners, and you guys want analysis, and we're going to give you both of that. We also have our NBA podcast coming up as NBA season gets in tune. We got some over-unders for you. If you like futures or if you like the NBA at all, that's definitely something to check out. Anything you want to plug in for us, Dave?
Yeah, just remember, check out our website, thesportsfellas.com, and give us a follow at thesportsfellas, and follow my personal Twitter account at TSF Dave. And that's about it. Let's wrap her up, and we'll be back on Thursday or Friday with our picks, and hopefully we have another good week this week.
Yep, I'm feeling it, man. So we'll get at you guys soon. You have a great week. Enjoy looking at the lines, and be sure to add us on Twitter if you have any questions or want to talk. We're more than willing to. So you have a good weekend, everybody.
Right. Take care, guys. See you.